Okay, it's one day. Well, it depends on when you're watching this. If you're watching this on Wednesday, it is one day before the trade deadline. If you're watching it Tuesday, it's 2 days. The trade deadline in the NFL's never mattered. It used to be 2 weeks earlier, so teams never paid any attention to it. They're thinking it might be a bigger deal now because there might be situations and circumstances where teams need players. It's later in the season. They know if they're a contender or not. And by Jove, the Seahawks may be one of those teams. Though we're hearing, and I know it's going to be podcasted on one of the, I think on the afternoon show, conversation with the Kansas City Reporter that Jim Moore had that you could listen to, that Dwayne Bowe, who was one of the guys that maybe we had talked about as being a target because he had brought up his own name, might not be the exact kind of guy you want to bring in. So let's forget about him for a second, and let me ask you two questions. One, do you think the Seahawks should make a trade to bring in a wide receiver, or just bring in one of the guys that cut loose earlier in the year?
Well, they brought up, I should say, Jermaine Kearse.
They've already done that, so they got one guy.
Yeah, Ben Obomanu goes on the injured reserve list. He's out for the season. Jermaine Kearse is called up from the practice squad. To me, you don't have your answer yet. If Jermaine Kearse were really that good, or they had that much faith in him, he would have made the team. So I don't know that you have your answer at wide receiver. I don't know who's available out there as far as a trade goes. Mm-hmm. If there is somebody with Dwayne Bowe talent, now if he's a head case, then keep him there. That's fine. But if you've got somebody that has that kind of ability that perhaps is available that we're not aware of, I think you definitely do it. This is a position that the Seahawks were clearly not sold on to begin the season. They brought in Antonio Bryant, they brought in Braylon Edwards, they brought in Terrell Owens. There's a reason they brought in all those guys, because they weren't satisfied with what they had. And I can't imagine with what Braylon Edwards has done this year, which is very little to nothing, and now he's got a knee issue, you're satisfied. He didn't do what I think they probably thought he may potentially do. So I can't imagine they look at it and go, we're fine, we feel good about it. I think if there's somebody out there that can help, can make a difference, a veteran that's on a roster that we're not hearing about, you have to explore it.
Well, and we're talking about depth, I think, for the most part, because you've still got Rice and Tate, who are nominally your starting number ones and number twos. But
one of those guys has been injury-prone his whole career.
Very good point.
Rice.
And the other thing I was going to say is, how often do you ever see the Seahawks line up with just two wide receivers? I mean, that's football from the 70s. Even they don't do that. So you get a sense they're going to bring someone else in. And I think of Deion Butler as a guy who was there, who was relatively productive if they wanted to go small. But let me say something about the Dwayne Bowe thing that I was thinking of when you were talking about it, and when I heard Go-To tell us that, boy, they really were trashing him in Kansas City. This is one of the reasons, though, why you got Pete Carroll. I mean, if a guy's reputation was a concern, you never would have brought T.O. in here, ever. You never would have even considered bringing him in for a workout. Mm-hmm. There are other guys that he's been willing to take a chance on. So,
well, Braylon Edwards is one of those guys.
Thank you.
Lendale White was one of those guys.
So if everyone perceives this guy as a head case, you could do a 7th round pick or something like that for him because he's got this bad reputation. I mean, I might do it. It's funny. I would not necessarily think, though, that him having a bad reputation is something that's going to deter Pete Carroll. Would you? I mean, he has not shown that he's concerned about what guys did before he got him at all.
No, I think he's proven the opposite. He's willing to work with these guys and kind of be the, father figure, psychologist, whatever role you want to attach to him. He's a guy that's not afraid of that. So if you can get him at the right price, I don't see that being a deterrent at all.
Because right now you're looking at the 4 wide receiver set of Tate and Rice and Martin and Kearse.
Right.
Yeah, let's get someone else.
Yes, let's do that.